Hi everyone, I am Stacy from Pot of Coffee Life, formerly known as Pot of Coffee Knits on my podcast. This is a podcast that used to be all about knitting and natural yarn dyeing. It is still going to be about knitting and natural yarn dyeing, but it is going to encompass a few new things that I am interested in and that go on in my daily life. So for instance, books and reading and literature is one of my passions. And so this podcast is going to cover lots of different things like books, knitting, yarn dyeing, cooking, gardening, homeschooling, because I homeschool. I'm a mom of 4 kids and I homeschool all 4 of them. Childcare, children in general, families, all sorts of things that I am super interested in. So I'm excited that you are here. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back if you've been here before, and I hope you stick around. And welcome to anyone that is new. Today's podcast is going to talk a lot about books, so I hope you guys are ready to hear how I read, an introduction to how I read, and some of the things that I do when I read, and some of the books that I have. So welcome, and let's get started. So at my house, we kind of have books everywhere. I'm currently in the basement, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite bookshelves that has pretty much just all my books on there, and there are a lot of classic books. And I have to be honest, there's a large amount on here that I have actually never read yet, and a lot are from my college days when I was a literature major. But I have books, some books in boxes too, which drives me crazy, but what can you do? So here's some of the books on my personal bookshelf downstairs. So here are some of the books that I have. I went through a phase of really loving Joanne Harris, for one. This book, Blackberry Wine, is really good, and I actually never read this one, Sleep Pale Sister, so that's on my to-read list. I also, one of my slough reads is John Grisham. I like reading John Grisham because it's just a quick and entertaining read. There are some of my college textbooks, college anthologies, some Shakespeare, and let's see, down here have more of my anthologies. So that's just a small selection of some of my books. I will show you some of the other books that I have too. So here we are back on the main floor in my living room, our all-purpose room. And I'm going to show you some of the books that I have up here, and then I'm going to tell you about some of the things that I'm currently reading. So this is our living room. I have a couple bookshelves in here. So this is one of our bookshelves, and I mentioned before that I homeschool all 4 of my kids, grades 3 to currently 9th grade. So a lot of my books are children's literature, or there's Ivanhoe, Shakespeare. Our school is based on living books and literature. So the science, it's more literature over here. Then I have this other bookshelf over here. So again, a lot of children's literature. I also do natural yarn dyeing, so there's some of those books, and some of my cookbooks, my favorite cookbooks. I have a lot of Christian books because I do spend a lot of time trying to better myself by knowing the Bible and things more. So I have a lot of shelves on Christian books, some art books, some just kind of random books all put together. My husband thinks that I have a lot of books, and we do have quite a few books, but again, we homeschool, and there are 6 of us living in this house, and this is where we keep the majority of our books, but that is still not all of our books. We have a bunch upstairs too, but I'm only going to show you these ones today. Before I became a knitter, I was a literature major and I've been an avid reader my whole life. I've devoured books all the time. I was an American Lit major in college, and though I didn't complete my degree, it was an awesome major and focus because that's what I'm very interested in. I love reading. Right now, what I am reading, I have left this upstairs actually, but I am on book 4 of Harry Potter, and I have read all the Harry Potters before as they came out, and I am rereading all of them because my 14-year-old son has reread all of the Harry Potters 3 different times because he loves them so much. And so he challenged me to reread them because it's been quite a few years since I've read them, so that's what I am working on right now. But as you will find, I am not a very good reader of just one book at a time. My reading time is very limited, and so I find myself bouncing back and forth between about 10 to 12 books at one time, and I'll show you a couple of them that I'm working on right now. And mostly that's because when the mood strikes me, I want to pick up a book that I'm going to be interested in for a few pages before I have to put it down. And the next time I have a chance to read, it might be that I'm not really feeling that book and I want to pick up and read a few pages on a different book. So my book reading is very chaotic right now, and it has been ever since I've been a mom to 4 kids and homeschooling my kids and working full-time from home because I run my in-home daycare / preschool. So yeah, it's just very limited in my time, and so I have a really hard time focusing on one book at a time. Right now, I probably have about 15 books that I will read a page here and there on, and I will eventually finish them all, but it just takes me a little bit longer because, like I said, I just don't have a lot of time. Since reading is very important to me and books are very important to me, I have always made it a priority that I read out loud to my kids. Even now, when my kids are almost 15, 13, almost 11, and 9, we still read out loud every single day. We read out loud some of our schoolwork, and I always read a free read with them that usually takes 1 to 2 months. And our current book, we have read a lot of good books this way, and our current book is Swiss Family Robinson by Johann David Weiss, and we just started this. We're only, I think we've only read 2 chapters, but we really are enjoying it. We love the movie, and we had never read the book before, and so I decided, let's read this book. And it's a classic, it's unabridged, and we always read unabridged. I don't like to have abridged books. And it's an action-adventure book, which keeps my children focused and interested. So that is what we are currently working on, and I believe the next book that we are going to read is either The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin or Little Pilgrim's Progress. I haven't decided which one yet, so we'll see where we are fancied to go in that process after this. So right now, a lot of the books that I'm reading, like I said, I tend to read 10 to 15 books at a time, but a lot of books I'm reading are books like this, Raising Godly Children in an Ungodly World by Ken and Steve Ham, who are brothers, or I'm reading one called Being Lutheran, or Raising an Original. I mean, a lot of them are, I guess, what you'd consider self-help books in ways, but a lot of them are religious-based, and a lot of them are education-based. So another one I'm reading, because I do home daycare and preschool, is a book I got from the library called Basic Montessori Learning Activities for Under 5s. And it's very interesting, actually. I'm trying to figure out some new learning techniques for the little kids that I watch. And so I usually read a lot of books like that. And then, so when I say I'm reading like 10 to 15 books, a lot of them are like this. And then I'll probably, of that 10 to 15 books, it's probably one or two of them that is an actual novel. And so in addition to reading Swiss Family Robinson with my kids and reading the fourth Harry Potter right now that I'm working on March 1st, I am participating in a reading challenge that my friend Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse, he has a YouTube video or YouTube podcast. He and some other people, some other podcasters have issued a challenge for the month of March called March of the Mammoths, which is a reading challenge to finally pick up one of those books off your bookshelf that has over 800 pages that might have been terrifying you to read, but you've been wanting to read for a really long time. And so I have enticed my sister, who is the person behind Auburn Books, also on YouTube here, to join me in this challenge. And so it's March of the Mammoths, and I believe, I'll have to double check, but I believe the hashtag is Marching Mammoths to go along with this if you want to participate. And the book that has been on my bookshelf for a long time that I have chosen is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I have wanted to read this book for a really long time. It's been on my bookshelf for a really long time. I just always talk myself out of picking it up to read it because I always tell myself I'm never going to finish it because I just don't have time to do so. So I'm going to work really hard on this, and I'm not making myself any promises because I know how limited my reading time is, but I am going to work really hard and see how far I can get during the month of March. I actually really love Westerns, as I grew up in Wyoming, and some years in Colorado, but most of the years were in Wyoming. The formative years were in Wyoming. And so I've always actually really loved Westerns. I love Western movies and TV shows and books, and I've never really been super discouraged when reading a Western book. So I have kind of high hopes for this. I've heard really good things about it, and it has really good reviews, and people seem to really enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to reading this book. Yeah, so anyways, so that's some of the things about my books that I wanted to talk to you about right now. I think that I have worked so hard on, in my free time, I knit a lot, and that's a little easier to me than reading because I can knit while I'm helping my kids with their math or doing lessons with them, or, watching the other smaller kids play or things like that. And I can't always read while I do that because I need to focus on the words. If I have the kids playing around me, I can't just read and not focus on them. So I have not even picked up my knitting in about 10 days because in any little bit of free time that I've had, I've really, really, really been motivated to read lately, and I really missed it. And I am not an audiobook person, so that really sucks for me because if I was an audiobook person, I could have been reading so many more books while knitting, and I don't know, the only time that I can listen to audiobooks is in the car. Otherwise, it's just not the same to me. Part of my love of reading is actually reading the words myself and not being read to. And I'm not like a big Kindle book person either. I like to actually physically hold the book and read it myself. So that limits me in my abilities to have time to read. So like I said, if I was an audiobook person, man, I could have been reading all sorts of books while knitting and accomplishing, killing two birds with one stone. But it's just really hard for me because it just doesn't, I don't know, I don't get the same out of the book as I would if I had the real deal. And so I'm trying to be better, though, about finding ways to separate my time. And I have been mostly reading at night. I don't watch TV except when I go to bed. And so I have not even turned the TV on at night because I've really been wanting to read. And so I'll read a few pages before I fall asleep. But yeah, I'm really trying to get back into spending a lot of time with reading. And I like to do reading challenges with my oldest son because he enjoys reading. And we might read the same book and then talk about it. So yeah, there's just a lot you can do and a lot you can learn. And I want to get more involved in this booktube community because I love book clubs. And I actually used to be in a book club with Jason from his podcast. And so that seems like ages ago. Seems like a lifetime ago. But I would love to get back involved in this community because I love talking about books. And honestly, I have to be 100% honest here. I've been so out of the reading loop that I don't know any new books. I don't. I have been working, my reading goals has been to read as many classic literature books as I can. And so anytime I have had a chance to read like a novel, I have been picking up classic literature. And I have not read any new novels or like New York Times bestsellers or, anything like that in, I don't know, 15 years. So I don't even know what they are. Couldn't tell you. So I'm hoping to get back a little more in tune with some of these authors and current writers and books and try to get back involved with knowing that sort of information too. So in knitting news, I have still been working diligently on my On the Spice Market shawl. And I want to show you where I'm at right now. Let's see. That's the back side. I'll show you the front side. I am kind of in the last section here. So it's where the chunks of colors are coming together finally. I have all these beautiful colors that I absolutely love. Thought I was going to be stalled because between this last section, between each of the colors, there's 2 rows of slip stitch on the Miss Babs colorway peppercorn and the Yummy 2 Toes or 2-ply. And I got the exact amount of yardage that I was supposed to get for the pattern, and I ran out of yarn. So I watched on Ravelry for a few days, and luckily someone added this a skein of it to their stash. So I got it from her and she sent it within like a couple days, and so now I don't need all this yarn because I only have 8 rows of slip stitch white to go. But I didn't want to miss out because I do think I thought about not adding that row between each color and just skipping it, but I really do think it makes a difference. And so I'm glad I have it, but I'll just have a lot of extra yarn, which is fine. So this is what I've mostly been working on. To be honest, I haven't even picked up my Weekender sweater in probably a month and a half. And so, because I really want to finish this before I move on. I'm trying to be very good about finishing a project, because if I don't, then they'll never get done because my time is so limited, and I want to have some completed things. But I did have a fun nail day today. So I had pre-ordered Marie Green from Olive Knits, her new book, Seamless Knit Sweaters in 2 weeks, and that came today. So I'm really excited to go looking through this and find some fun sweater patterns to do. So I was excited about that. And then I never mentioned before that I actually went ahead and I joined the Legacy Yarn Club through Mountain Meadow Wool. And I've never joined a yarn club before, and it's $20 a month, but you get a box every other month throughout the year. And what inspired me to join Mountain Meadow Wool's yarn club specifically is because I'm originally from Wyoming, and they are out of Buffalo, Wyoming. And so the yarn is Wyoming yarn, it's Wyoming dyed, and so I feel like I have a connection to this yarn. So I decided to try it out for a year and see what it was like. So it came today, the first box, and so I want to show you what was in the box. If I can open it. Okay, so when I open the box, the first thing that is on top is a pamphlet that says the Legacy Yarn Club Mountain Merino theme. And what is really cool about this to me is when you open up the pamphlet, it tells you where the yarn came from, what ranch, where it's from. It tells you about the yarn, and then it tells you what's included in your shipment, and it tells you about what the color dye is about, and which is really cool to me because I really like to know where my yarn comes from. And so this yarn is Rambouillet lambs, and it's from Buffalo, Wyoming, and this one is comes from Camino Kid Ranch. And then on the back it tells you about Mountain Meadow wool. So this they have some very beautiful natural yarn. I was surprised, and I'll show you why, what the yarn that came today was, because to be honest, I was actually really hoping for some of their natural wools. I mean, you can see a lot of their natural wool colors because I really like those natural colors, but it's not what came. But so I'm still think that the yarn is so beautiful. Not really my colors, but that's okay. That's part of the fun and the surprise. So here is the yarn that came in the box. 2 skeins. The yarn color is called Paintbrush, and it is a 2-ply bulky, 130 yards, 4 ounces, and 100% Mountain Merino Rambouillet. So here's the tag on there. Whoops. It's so bulky. So there's the tag. So yeah, the colors were a little surprising because I would thought that most of their yarns were probably like a natural colorway. So that's okay though. Add it to my stash. So 2 of those came in there. 2 little chocolates, which I'm saving for this afternoon. And then at the bottom there is that in each of their subscriptions this year, they are including a pattern, let's see, a crochet pattern, which I don't crochet, but maybe this will inspire me, motivate me to start. So this first pattern, it's called Corkscrew Cables Capelet. And that's what it looks like. Which I think is a really cool idea because it gives you inspiration and motivation for uses of the yarn that they're sending you. So it's a cute little box full of stuff, and then for, I mean, 20 bucks a month, so it's really like 40 bucks a box really, but it's not bad for what you get and that you're paying for shipping and stuff. So yeah, that was my box today. So I'm excited to see what comes. And like I said, the colors aren't bad. They're just not my colors. But I am really hoping for more of these natural wool colors in my future boxes, to be honest. If not, and I find that the colors aren't really my colors, then it's no problem. I know a lot of people who knit and crochet that would be more than happy to be gifted some yarn that I won't use on my shelf. So anyways, yeah, that's all I've been working on my yarn. I still have a whole lot of yarn in my shop, my Etsy shop, and all of those naturally dyed yarn sample kits where it comes with 5 different colors in there are still in my shop. Free shipping for another week and a half till the end of February. So make sure you check out my Etsy shop, which is potofcoffeeknits.etsy.com. And I updated all the pictures and I added a whole bunch of new items to the shop too. So I hope you find something that you love, so check it out. But thanks for joining me today and listening to me ramble on about my books and my reading, and popping over to check out what I'm knitting on. And yeah, so probably the next video we will be focusing on planting some indoor seeds for my garden, because even though there is probably 6 to 8 inches of snow, old snow, on our ground right now, and we are predicted to get 5 to 9 inches of snow overnight tonight, and then another like 5 to 6 inches Saturday night with ice storm. Spring's still gonna come, and I still need to plant these indoor seeds. So I'm gonna be working on my peppers and my tomatoes, namely, and probably a couple other things that I need to plant indoors to get them going. So I'm hoping to get that done next week or this coming up weekend. So I will try and get some videos of doing that, and so we'll probably talk about some garden plans on my next podcast. So hope you guys have a great day, and if you're getting snow like we are, go enjoy it. I know it's been a long snowy winter, but it's fun. It's fun to have snow to play in and try to take every single season and enjoy everything about it. So I hope you guys can get out and play in the snow a little bit. So happy Tuesday, everybody. Check you out next time.